Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Wow, this is a bit too much. Let's zoom in just a little bit more there. There we go, I think that's pretty good. Moving on. So we're now at that time of year where everyone gets their results back for those exams they spent months and months studying for. Now where I'm from, if you tried, you'd do well. Or at least that was the case for me and most of the people that I knew. Because clearly the people that got like C's, D's, and heaven forbid, even F's, they must just not have studied as much as me, right? But I mean, looking back, that's definitely not necessarily true. And in fact, the more I've learned about the way that the UK system works, the more I feel like it's not the way it should be. People in my comments complaining that this year's test they made a lot more difficult because last year's was too easy, which to me doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you need to make it more difficult if people pass? That should be, an applause for the education system. You taught the students well, not, well, we gotta make it worse for them. Why? At university, for a lot of my courses, we did have a curving system, which makes a lot of sense. You know, if the test was too hard and the highest grade in the class was, let's say, a 70, then the grade is plopped on that Gaussian curve, and then the highest grade that was a 70 is now 100, and then it just curves from there. That makes sense. But I've heard tell that they also do the same thing where if everyone did really, really well, they curve down. Which, with curve, without curve, the number you get on an exam or at the end of a course doesn't really mean that much compared to what it used to. The main thing that should be considered here is, do you got the knowledge? You got the knowledge, you did it, okay? You did a good job. Now there's a lot of people out there currently spewing these things like, your results don't matter, look at me, I live in a mansion now and I got a C in GCSE history. Congratulations, I'm proud of you, Mr. Adult. I mean, I can sit here as an adult and go, oh yeah, my test results that I took clearly don't matter to me now, but I'd be lying to myself if I said in that moment they didn't matter a lot, because they did. Because at that pivotal stage in your life, all the things that you have set in your head to do have now completely changed, possibly, depending on your results. I mean, I remember a distinct time in 5th grade in which I got my first C. I was devastated. I literally cried for weeks because I got it by 1 point. I had an 83 instead of an 84 because I had lost this skeleton project that I was supposed to be working on that was like putting all these bones together for health. And I just remember feeling so upset because this letter wasn't who I wanted to be. I never thought of myself as average. I always strived so hard to be better and to learn more and be the best. And to be told, nah, you're not, it was really hurtful to me. And I think if I had people in my life like my mom or my dad or anyone else saying like, oh, it's okay, everyone gets a C, you know, you'll be fine, everyone does this eventually, it doesn't really matter in the end of the day, you know, just keep, I don't think I would have strove as much after that, because that C put a fire under my belly. I did not want to be a C student, you see, okay? I wanted to be an A student, A student. No! So because of this 1 C, I studied way more. I put a lot of more effort in, and then I never got another one again. And then I also switched school systems to where an 83 is now a B. So, screw you, Mrs. Zakowski, and your dumb skeleton project. I got a bone to pick with you. Because here's the thing, people can tell you your results don't matter, but at the end of the day, it could make you not be able to take a course you want to take the next year. It could mean you can't get into the university that you were trying to get into, or even missing a scholarship that would save you a lot of money. You might have this big vision in your head on what you're going to be doing, and depending on your results, that could completely change. To say your results don't matter is just disingenuous, because they definitely do, especially at that time. Your results do matter, but I find what matters even more than your results is your reaction to them. How you can take your life the next step after finding out what you've gotten. If I had told myself, hey, Evan, from 5 years ago, you know how you're stressed because you just lost your job and might be deported? Don't worry, you'll definitely get another one. What if at that point I went, oh, cool, and I stopped stressing about it so much, and then I didn't actually go out and strive to get another job, and then I ended up getting deported? No, that genuinely could have happened. So don't go back and tell your past self all this stuff. It's dangerous. What I'm trying to say is, no matter what your results are, keep going. Keep striving to do what you want to do. You get good results, great, keep it up. You get bad results, okay, well now you know you're going to do better next time. That is how life is as an adult. You know, you lose your job, you know, I'm gonna get a new one, I'm gonna bounce back. You always bounce back, there's always a way forward. Now, when I was in 8th grade, I had to take an aptitude test. Basically, I had to sit down, answer a ton of questions, and at the end of it, it would tell me what I'm supposed to be when I grow up. Think like a BuzzFeed quiz, but actually based on something real. Can't wait to be a Ravenclaw when I grow up. You were such a Chandler. Now I'm imagining an aptitude test in which you just take a friend's aptitude test in 8th grade. They're like, you're definitely gonna grow up to be a Chandler or a Phoebe. I've seen 4 episodes of Friends. I can't put this on anymore, I'm sorry. Definitely a George Costanza. But anyway, I take this long aptitude test, and at the end of it, it tells me what I should be: a statistician. What? I couldn't even pronounce that. That sounds nerdy and boring. Sure, I liked math, and one time I wrote the 9's times tables all the way out to 99,999, but that does not mean I want to be a statistician. Let's see what the second result is. A librarian? What? What do you, that just sounds like a boring job. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I never had a nice librarian growing up, okay? It's always a McGonagall looking like woman who just like, get out of my library and return all my books. You know, sure, I loved reading, but I didn't want to be a librarian. You know what I wanted to be in 8th grade? I wanted to make either video game music or design video games or something, because I liked video games. I liked RuneScape. I liked that type of thing. So as I slowly made my way through high school, that was still the only thing that I could think of that I actually liked doing. Because how are you supposed to know at that age what you're supposed to do? All you know is like fireman and policeman and astronaut. I'm actually too tall to be an astronaut. That is not fair. Horrible. But that feeling like I wanted to make video games didn't really go away because it was the only thing that I kind of knew that I liked. And so by the end of high school, I applied to 2 different video game design schools, one in Florida, one in Washington State, and I applied to the local community college in case things went south. Things didn't go south. I got accepted to both, but it was one of those things where it was just such a huge unknown of going to these 2 schools, such a huge amount of debt. I couldn't really fathom what was going to happen there. And so I figured, you know what? I'm good at math. Why don't I just go to this community college, this county college down the road, because maybe I can transfer my 2 years of an associate's in math to do video game production. I don't know. At least let me just roll with it, ride things out, see where things go, especially considering that if I went to this community college because I did so well in high school, they'd pay me to go. So it was like the opposite of debt, which makes up for all the debt I got in later. But long story short, I ended up going to community college, transferring to a state college, staying in a math degree, and I actually took my first ever stat courses and genuinely liked them. This course that I thought, I don't want to be a statistician, that's boring, ended up being one of my favorite types of math. I love probability and random variables. I love stats. Like, I love how applied it is and how real it is. And it's funny that an aptitude test told me I should do that, and I immediately rejected it. But then it turns out a lot of the jobs that I've had since then, actually every single one, has been math reliant. Basically, it's completely okay if you don't know what you're gonna do. Life changes like that. You don't know where you're going to be in the next 5 years. If someone says, where are you gonna be in 5 years? If you know the answer to that, who are you? You psychic? That, I would never be able to answer that at any point in my life in the last 10 years at all. Because my life has been lots of pivot points. I'm not making a Friends reference, but that is one of the few episodes I actually have seen. Pivot. So when in doubt, ride it out has been a mantra of mine for a while, but sometimes I ride it out to a fault. See, I tend to believe I'm a pretty non-confrontational person. Like, as soon as things get heated, I am out of there. Or, most cases actually, if I see like 2 friends getting in an argument and I'm around, I will joke about the situation, I will throw unserious banter, completely ripping the argument apart, and so people are a little bit less tense. Maybe it's because I grew up in a shouty household where things got very tense and the air got thick with the suspense of what could happen and who's gonna yell next and that type of thing, that makes it so that I just really don't like that, and I try and avoid that if I can. Anyone else that came from a shouty household, you know how terrifying it can be sometimes, and I never want to be in that environment ever again. Shouting is like a huge no-go for me. So usually, I just like diffusing things before it even gets close to that point. And I also genuinely believe that maybe it's because I grew up in that environment that made me so cool-headed and against that. So I guess thanks, Mom and Dad. Now I'm super agreeable. But being too agreeable and saying yes to everything does have its drawbacks. You see, my whole life, I've just been this type of guy that just rides the wave. I'll go wherever life takes me. But a couple months ago, I was incredibly stressed. I had lost my job. I didn't know how I was going to be making any money, especially because I've been going through some management issues. At this point, I'm a bit scared. I owe a lot of money to the government to get my super visa and all this other stuff. What am I going to do? Well, my friend messages me and says they're hiring a math teacher at her school and I should apply. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I hadn't considered teaching math in 8 years since I got my degree. And that was originally what I thought I might do, is teach math with my math degree because, hey, I like math. I like teaching math. Why not? But now, I tried saying I don't think it's possible to teach math without a teaching degree, but it turns out in the UK at specific schools, you very much well can, as long as you're really good at math. So I applied to the school. It took 2 hours because their application process was horrible, but eventually the deed was done and my application was submitted. I texted my friend figuring everything's fine. I'm sure to get an email in a couple days. It's like, oh, sorry, you weren't selected. And then everybody wins because I don't really know if I want to do this quite yet. However, I get a phone call the next day. Hey, can you come on in to meet us? We like your application. Oh, well, I guess I'd be silly not to. I don't feel like this is for me yet, but I mean, I spent all the time and I put 100% of my effort into getting this application sent, so I might as well go to the school. So I go to the school, I meet the kids, I shadow some teachers, I have a great time, the food was great, they liked me, they took me back for an interview, and I'm like, okay, I just don't know if this is for me. I never thought I'd get this far, and I kept asking myself, is this what you really want? And I didn't know. I just kept seeing visions in my head of myself in 10 years' time, like just being a professional math teacher at a school, and though it was nice and all, it didn't feel like me. It felt like I was doing it because it was a product of my circumstances, and I needed to because I needed money. I needed to afford to live in this city that I live in that's far too expensive, and that seemed like a good way of getting money, and I mean, I'm good at it, why not? But was it me? So I went back the next week, took a tour of the school, got recognized by far too many students, which is more uncomfortable as it is, and then taught a class of students things about standard form. It's not standard form, okay, Brits? It's scientific notation. Nothing about it is standard. Stop calling it that. Anyway, and because I put so many hours and so much effort into this lesson, I actually quite enjoyed teaching that one class. I did like it a lot, but the whole time it just felt like an anxiety fever dream because at any moment I could accidentally swear. You know, I have to not call myself Evan. I am Mr. Edinger, Mr. Edinger, Mr. Edinger. It felt like I was wearing a costume of someone that wasn't me, and I was just playing fake the whole time. I've never felt so strongly like that before. Like every teacher I shook hands with, I felt so strongly like, who do you think I am? I'm not this person you're shaking hands with. I feel more relatable to younger people than like older people. I don't want to be on some pedestal of authority. I don't want that at all. I don't want people to like respect me just because I wear a blazer, you know, or because I'm the teacher. I want people to respect me for my beliefs or what I have to say. I'd rather teach, tutor one-to-one, or maybe teach a college class where I can just be myself. But this scary, scary world in which one day I make a video and say one specific thing that maybe a student's mom doesn't like, and then they report me to the principal, and it's like, there was just so many variables that were so crazy that I just couldn't fathom, that after I left the school having a pretty good experience, when I got the email a couple days later that someone else had gotten the position, it felt like such a breath. Like I was free from these circumstances I had gotten myself into. It felt like such a huge weight was lifted. It felt like I was let out of the cage that I'd put myself in due to just going along with the flow. Because truly, not once during this whole experience did I ever feel in control of anything. I genuinely just felt like I was being swept along because it would just be so socially unacceptable to bail out at any time. Like, oh, well, you fully put 2 hours into applying. Why would you bail out now? You've gone on a tour. You might as well keep going. You might as well give the lesson. There was no point in which I said, I'll just not do this anymore. I felt like I had to. Sure, I'd love to teach math someday, maybe in a university environment in which I can be myself, or maybe in a one-to-one tutoring type of scheme, but at a school where there's loads of youngins and I have to be a specific way and I basically have to change who I am, I honestly don't think that's for me. But has anyone ever felt like this? I know it's incredibly weird, but to be in a situation where you're not in control of your actions and you're just going along with things, that is like one of my big phobias, is just being stuck in a rut and not being able to change anything about it. Maybe that's something for a therapist, who knows? But hey, we got YouTube. But as far as Mr. Edinger the teacher, maybe far in the future, but definitely not at this stage in my life. Well, I hope you did well on your exams, and if you have any other hurdle in your life that you're trying to get over right now, I just hope that no matter what happens, you just keep striving. You keep striving for what you want to do and just follow that. No matter what a number tells you, no matter what anyone tells you, just do what you want, and I hope you find some happiness. Anyway, thanks for watching, bringing it back old school with one of these style videos. Hope you enjoyed just the standard sit and chat. I'm working on some really, 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 really big projects with my YouTube channel coming up. So secret project, stay in touch, subscribe for more, new videos every Sunday. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Goodbye.